Unforgettable stories out of Western Jamaica from the scrapbooks of Adrian Freighter. When 30-year-old Joseph Gio McKenzie was arrested at Harvey Beach near Flanker in Montego Bay, St. James on Sunday, August 25, 2024, he created dubious history as he is the only St. James most wanted in living memory whose reign ended with him still alive. At the time of his arrest, McKenzie, who was reportedly held with an illegal firearm, was wanted for 2 counts of murder, and a forensic test on the weapon that was allegedly taken from him reportedly found that it was linked to several other murders. While McKenzie will now have a date in the Western Regional Gun Court instead of a date with one of the region's undertakers, it should be noted that in the past 25 to 30 years, all the men who have earned the title of St. James Most Wanted have either died at the hands of fellow gangsters or killed in alleged confrontations with the police. In fact, in 2020, former St. James Police Commander, Senior Superintendent Vernon Ellis, told the Gleaner that whenever a gangster becomes St. James Most Wanted, it was usually a sign that his time on earth was drawing to a close.
So the persons who we have who are wanted inside the zone and those who are persons of interest, I am telling you that we are going to pursue them this time, and when we pursue them, we are going to overtake them, and when we overtake them, we are not going to stop at that. We are going to consume them.
It is no secret that based on St. James's gangland history, this is a parish where gangsters die young for the most part. In this edition of Lest You Forget, I will be looking at a long list of gangsters who have died young. From a story I wrote for the Gleaner, which was published on July 26, 2020, under the headline, Known Gangsters Paradise, St. James, a graveyard for public enemies #1. The story read as follows. When Delano Precker Wilmot's time as one of Jamaica's most wanted men ended in a gunfight with members of the security forces at his isolated hideaway in rural St. James early last Wednesday morning, he joined a long list of gangsters whose reign of terror came to a fiery end in the Western Parish. In fact, Superintendent Vernon Ellis, who heads the St. James Police Division, said in the aftermath of Wilmot's death that the most wanted tag is usually a signal that the end is near. Wilmot, who had survived several previous confrontations with the security forces, including a daring ambush he staged during which 3 Jamaica Defence Force soldiers were shot, did not go out without a fight, as he again challenged the security forces to a gunfight, but this time without luck. No precious blood was shed when we caught up with Precker. These guys need to know that they cannot match the security forces in a firefight, so it's best to surrender when they are confronted, said Ellis. Most Wanted Man is not a good title to have. Taking a look at the rise and fall of the many gangsters who have emerged in St. James since the early 1980s, there's one undeniable truth. They die at a young age, creating legends out of resolute cops like Clive Karate George Lawrence, who is renowned for his disguises as a woman, donning female clothing and spike heels in seeking to catch wanted thugs off guard. I had no fear going after them because my aim was to make my city as safe as possible, said the now-retired Lawrence, who was shot and injured in one of his many battles with gangsters. Former Assistant Commissioner of Police Denver Freighter, who headed the police's Era 1, which comprises St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland and Hanover, in the turbulent 1980s and 90s, noted that in those days, gangsters tagged Most Wanted rarely survived for more than a year. As much as 90% of them are killed within a year of becoming Most Wanted, Freighter said. And usually they range between the ages of 18 and 30. He added, "It has been like a recurrent decimal with these gangsters. Rise quickly and die quickly." The deadly roll call for gangsters who perished in St. James between 1982 and 2020 reads as follows. In 1982, Patrick Swang Stevens became most wanted when he was implicated in the shooting death of policeman Paul Shan. After a brief 2 months reign, he was killed in a confrontation with the police. In 1986, Owen Jagaru Graham, who was renowned for wearing army-style military outfit and always had his M16 assault rifle as a constant companion, was a much feared hitman across western Jamaica until he met his demise in a shootout with the police. In 1987, Owen Poogan Pearson, who led the notorious Summerton gang, had St. James under siege for over a year, robbing and killing with impunity. He was killed in a gunfight with the police in Falmouth, Trelawney. In 1992, Fitzroy the General Smart came to the fore. He was a notorious robber who specialized in targeting guest houses in upstate communities. He was killed in an early morning gunfight with the police in Unity Hall, St. James. The gun seized from him was traced back to a St. James Member of Parliament. In 1994, Len Bircher, who led the notorious Floral Gang, became St. James's most wanted man after being linked to a spate of murders. He was killed in a gunfight with the police at his Salt Spring hideout. In 1995, Ika Dread Panton, who had Flanker under siege for many months, committing several murders and shootings, including seriously injuring a police officer, Everton Grant, was killed in one of his many clashes with the police. Also in 1995, Miguel Jarrett, who took over the leadership of the Flower Hill Gang after Lenroy Bircher was killed, flourished for a while as a bloodthirsty killer. However, he too was killed by the police towards the end of the year. In 1998, Albert Sir Paul James, who was both a much feared rapist and a gunslinger, became most wanted after killing sprees in Montego Bay and Negril. He was killed in a gunfight with the police. During that incident, police officer Hugh Henry was also killed. In 2001, Nina Badabada Alexander, who was known as the king of drive-by shooting, had several districts in St. James living in fear, resulted in him being named the parish's most wanted man. His reign lasted a few months before he was killed by the police. In 2002, Ansel Zada Melish, who the police said eliminated several gangsters in becoming St. James's most wanted man, was cornered and killed in a shootout in Fairfield on the outskirts of Montego Bay. Also in 2002, Frank Bruno Stone, who led a murderous rampage in Rose Heights and was feared across the parish, was killed in a gunfight with top cop Clive Karate George Lawrence, who was shot and wounded in that incident. Also in 2002, Carly Matalan Williams, who led the notorious Toyota gang, which was known for daring robberies and cold-blooded murders, became St. James's most wanted man after he was implicated in the murder of Police Inspector Rupert Gardner. He too was killed in a shootout with the police. In 2004, Eric Sandokan Brown, a former Canterbury strongman, was listed on the FBI's most wanted list in the United States for several murders, was killed by the local police in a shootout in Lilliput, St. James. In 2005, Michael Banner-Granston, who engaged the police in several shootouts during his murderous reign in which he killed an elderly policeman in cold blood, was cut down in a gun battle with the police in the York Bush area of St. James. In 2006, Delano Bigger Crime Williams, the renowned stone crusher enforcer who was known for abetting his victims, was killed in a shootout with the police in Norwood, St. James. Also in 2006, Michael Lassie Forbes, who served a stint as a leader of the Stonecrusher gang and was rarely off the police's radar, was killed in an alleged gunfight with the police in St. Mary. Also in 2007, Rowan Don Gordon, who led the much feared Fresh Roses gang, was said to be the worst nightmare for even his own friends who sometimes felt his wrath. He was killed in a shootout with the police. Also in 2007, Rowan Don Gordon, the much feared leader of the Stonecrusher gang, was said to be as deadly as he was elusive. Strangely, he was killed at his own gate in Norwood in a shootout with the police. And also in 2007, Gerardo Rado Taylor, who was considered the police's worst nightmare as he regularly challenged them in brazen gunfights, was eventually killed after he was cornered in Rosemount Gardens, St. James by the police. In 2010, Richard Richie Black's Lawn, the last known leader of the Stonecrusher gang, was killed after he challenged the police to a gunfight in Rosides and was cut down. Also in 2010, Anthony Bowler Christie, the alleged leader of the Bottom-Pen-based Piranha gang, was killed in what the police said was an early morning shootout. He was said to be wanted for several murders at the time of his death. Also in 2010, Cedric Doggy Murray, who was once a top lieutenant in the Stonecrusher gang before moving to Tivoli Gardens in Kingston, where he became a much feared enforcer for strongman Christopher Dodoscoke, was killed in a special police operation near the border of Clarendon and Manchester. In 2014, Eldon Don Calvert became one of Jamaica's most wanted men after the police linked him to bloody crimes committed by the notorious Stonecrusher gang. He was shot dead by a fellow gangster in Salt Spring, St. James. In 2017, Tadmar Rifle King White, who the police labelled a cold-blooded killer and who was on the police's most wanted list for a few years, was killed by unknown assailants at his Bottom Pen home in St. James. Also in 2017, Omar King Evil Lewis, the notorious leader of the Canterbury-based Nation Crooks gang, who was also featured on the United States crime radar, was murdered by unknown assailants in Montego Bay, where he was cooling out after being deported from the United States. Also in 2017, Oswin Ski Mask Jarrett, the leader of the murderous Ski Mask gang, was much feared across western Jamaica. Jarrett and 5 members of his gang were killed in a gun battle with the police on the St. James-Trelawney border. In 2018, O'Shane Gandy-Duane, the reputed leader of the Waltham gang, managed to successfully evade the St. James police but was killed by unknown assailants in St. Ann. Also in 2018, Ryan Ratty Peterkin, who had the community of Cambridge under siege for several months, fled the area after he came under serious police pressure. He was subsequently killed in a confrontation with the police in Williamsfield in Westmoreland. 2019, Shaniel Luton, who was sentenced to life imprisonment in absentia in 2015 after he escaped police custody while awaiting sentencing for a double murder, was reportedly killed gangland style in Haiti, where he had fled to. And in 2020, Delano Precker Wilmot, who had split from the Ratty gang to form his own gang, had Cambridge under siege for about 4 years, during which he engaged the police and military in several gunfights. He was cut down last week. While it would seem quite clear that St. James is not a happy hunting ground for gangsters, since the demise of Precker Wilmot, other gangsters have come to the fore in St. James, but like those before them, many have died young. Unforgettable stories out of Western Jamaica from the scrapbooks of Adrian Freighter. Before you go, please remember to subscribe.